Okay, guys, welcome to your next how to draw video. Thank you everybody who voted. We had a little bit higher voter participation last week, so that made me very happy. And that means a lot of us really want to see this drawing today, which is how to draw a realistic eye. Yay, that's the one you guys voted for. You guys keep voting for some slightly more complicated drawings, and some of us are not voting for the complicated drawing. So this week, I'm not only going to do this complicated how to draw an eye, which I'm gonna try to not make it as complicated. I don't want to scare anybody away with that. But I'm also gonna post a easier drawing video, maybe more along the pace of my 3rd or 4th graders, and even my 5th and 6th graders if you just want to have a little bit more relaxed fun drawing an animal. You can head on over to our other how to draw video. It is not what we voted for, but it is the runner-up, so I think we'll still have fun. So this is how to draw an eye. I've got my sketchbook out, I've got my pencil. That's all we're going to need for this one, and I'm just doing the one realistic eye. If you are trying to draw an actual portrait, go back to our how to draw a portrait video. I know it's not the best, I didn't have my nice setup, but it still has a bunch of very good information right there as to how to actually draw both eyes in proportion, where to put them on the face. This is just if you are honing in or just trying to practice eyes. I think they're very fun to practice. So I'm going to shut up picture in picture. We are going to zoom in on this drawing of an eye, and I will see you on the other side. Okay, guys, here we go. Let's start our eye. What I like to do when I am starting an eye is I like to just start with my circle where the colorful part of my eye is going to be. You guys can see I like to just kind of practice drawing my circle before I even put pencil to paper. All right. You can also see I like to draw a lot of circles, because the more circles I draw, the more likely it will be that I can erase some of my lines and have an actual circle I am proud of. You guys are always complaining about drawing circles. It is tough. I give that to you for sure, and if you need it to be perfect, go ahead and find something to trace. This is just a practice drawing of an eye, so it can really be any size. I think it's easier to practice drawing an eye, just a super big eye. Give yourself all of the space you can have on your piece of paper. Not too much space that you feel like you have to fill in an entire piece of paper, but I'm gonna keep fussing with this till I'm really happy with it. And that looks mighty fine to me. Let me try to focus. Okay. So once you have that big circle, that is the colorful part of your eye. Now let's add in the smaller circle on the inside. That is the black part of your eye. That is your pupil. And we actually want to make sure that we are not making this pupil too small. If you are drawing a pupil that is too small, that would be a dilated, or no, I'm sorry, not dilated pupil, contracted pupil, and that would mean either you've got a whole bunch of light in your eye, or you're looking at something that you are not so happy with. So actually what happens, crazy cool thing about the eye, this part of your eye, the black part of your eye, will get bigger when you're looking at something that you like. Not like crazy, like noticeable like a cat when they get all excited. If you've ever looked to a cat's eyes when you pick up their favorite toy, boy, that can be intimidating. But just a little bit, just a subtle like, oh, that got bigger right here. And when you're looking at something you dislike, you tend to have this portion be a little bit smaller. And actually in animation, they take advantage of that, and they will make the pupils teeny, 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 little tiny, on all of their evil characters. So if you are trying to practice an eye, maybe your own eye or somebody you like, try to make it a little bit bigger just so your character or your eyeball does not seem evil. It's one of those things that it's really subtle and you see in animation a lot, but maybe you never really put it together as to, oh, that guy looks evil. Go ahead and go back through your favorite characters, maybe some of your evil characters, and you'll probably see a good portion of them have teeny tiny little pupils. So all I've done is just lightly color that in. That is not at all like, hey, I'm locked in, that's how it's going to look forever. I just want you to see the dark part of the eye, the colorful part of the eye. I'm going to be referring back and forth to those. So I want to just make those as different as possible right off the bat right now. So don't worry too much about coloring that in right now. Okay, so we have big circle, little circle, this one colored in darkly. We are going to now add the top lid, but we want to kind of just divide this a little in half, a little more on the lower side of half, so we know where we want to put those lines starting and stopping. So our eye is going to come up and it's going to cut off just this top part of the colorful part of our eye, because we are not drawing an eye that is terrified, frightened, or I don't know, terrified or frightened. That's really all I got. When you see all of that eye and then the white part around somebody's eye, they're really, you just don't see people relaxed where you see that amount of their eye. So I'm just going to bring that up. See, I start right here at the circle and I bring that up and over. And then I'm just going to bring that down. And I'm going to bring that down to this line at a little bit more of an angle. I intended to, but it didn't really turn out to be a little bit more of an angle. So let me extend that a little bit more. Okay, so I brought that down. And now what I'm going to do is actually erase that top part of my eye. You can see that looks like a relaxed eye. Look at that, that's awesome. All right, so actually I need to bring that down more past that line. And now we are going to connect this to over here. And sometimes with some people's eyes, you can even see some of the white of the eye underneath there. Not really all that often. So I'm just going to have it just touching. The eye is just resting on this bottom eyelid. And I'm just gently curving it. There's no real, like, I don't know, rhyme or reason as to the curve or anything like that. I'm just bringing this corner, curving it around over here. So I'm actually going to have it just connect over there and have it come around. And you see how I'm just leaving this space over here? That's because that's where our tear duct is. I'm just, it could be on either side, but let's say my nose is over here. So I'm actually going to bring this down a little bit further, and I'm going to draw in that tear duct. That tear duct is a subtle thing that our eyes have that when you're drawing them, especially if you're younger, you probably don't even think about trying to put those in. But you wanted a realistic eye, so I'm going to add a little bit of that. And then I'm going to have that curve over here, and that is at least included. That's going to make it look a lot more realistic with that right there. Okay, now we have our upper lid, our lower lid, colorful part of our eye, dark part of our eye, and this over here. We are going to now start adding on our eyelid. So our actual eyeball is more like this. You know when you get something stuck in your eye and you gotta kind of like lift your eyelid up and roll your eye around, you're looking for that eyelash that's been in there, just irritating your eye. All of this is still part of your eyeball, and that's kind of all of the part of your eye that you see as you're rolling that eye around. You're looking for something stuck in it. So actually, I'm drawing that in because when we have that drawn in, we can actually draw where our eyelid would go, because our eyelids kind of rest within the crease of your eyebrows up here. Your eye socket is in here, your eyeball is here, so your skin is coming and folding into that crease and then coming out, actually rounding out and coming up to here. So I'm just going to add the hint of where that is, just at the very top, and more around to this side. You can see it's a lot higher up away from the eye over here, but it gets a little bit closer as it gets down here because the eyeball is not like, ooh, all the way out here. It's kind of right more towards the edge because your cheekbone is all in here. Which, don't worry, we're not drawing cheekbones or anything like that, but having a hint of the eyelid on there will help it look more realistic. Okay. Alright, now, what we are going to do to make this look even more realistic. Guys, this is one of my favorite tricks that I learned. I'm actually going to bring this down, this edge of my eyelid. I'm going to bring that down. It's all the way up there. I'm going to have it stop right when I hit the circle. And then I'm going to come back over here and do the same thing on this side. Just bring it down just the teeniest little bit, just so it's slightly noticeable. And then erase that line that was right above it. And then slightly curve it up right there. So that actually helps your eye look a little bit more realistic, because even though this whole thing is your eyeball, this colorful part of your eye actually sticks out a little bit from the eyeball. So when your eyelid curves, it goes up and then on top of that, and then down and back to the actual eye socket right there. So it's a really subtle little thing that will make it look slightly more realistic. And now let's actually keep going with that. Let's add in just the hint of where that extra edge of our bottom eyelid is going to go. So just a teeny little bit over there. It's just going to meet right up over there in the corner. And that comes around and starts to thin out as we get closer to our tear duct. Okay. It's starting to look more and more realistic as we speak. Right, guys? All right. Now, don't want to really add those eyelashes until the very end, so let's talk about how to make this eye, this colorful part of your eye, actually look more realistic. So since I'm going to be working on that, I'm going to get rid of that initial line that I drew, and any of my other sketches that I have. Now, there is a infinite world of possibilities on drawing how that wonderful just galactic pattern that is happening in people's eyes goes on in there. But the first thing I want to do is really make sure I have my pupil, black part of my eye where I want it. I want all of the space to be as even as I can get it. The distance between here and here, I want that all to be as equal, as the same as I can get it before I start actually making it look more realistic. Okay, so I am happy with that. What I'm going to do, and I know this is a lot of circles, but you wanted to see a realistic eye. What I'm going to do is draw a slightly smallish circle around the pupil right there. And I'm going to draw another one about the same distance on the outside. And I'm going to start to just put a little pattern in there. I'm not going to do the most hyper realistic eye I am capable of. I'm going to do the most realistic eye that I think my most talented of talented artists out there in my classes might be able to accomplish if you follow all of these amazing steps. So we have this. I actually want to plan before I start adding all of that stuff in some highlights for my eye, because that's going to make a huge difference into it looking a little bit more realistic. So I am not going to draw big circles like you might see on like more anime eyes. I'm going to draw kind of like an oblong square that goes right over here. So what I'm doing is, I'm not doing a circle because the light's going to be cut off. If the light's coming up here, it's typically going to be a little cut off because of our eyelid and our eyelashes and stuff. And then maybe we've got another slightly rounder reflection right down here. How's that seem? That looks good. Let's just add one more right over here. And I'm adding these spots. I'm going to try to leave them white or lighter. And that is because if I leave those white and I add in some other more intricate shading around it, that will make your eye look a lot more glossy and wet. And our eyes, you're blinking all the time, they like to be moisture. So that is going to just kind of show that they are a little bit on the moist side. They are not dry, and they'll help add a little bit of emphasis on that round shape. Okay, so I've got that. And now what I really want to do, actually, before I get into the outside edge of the eye, is I'm going to give myself my blackest black in my drawing, which is definitely going to be in my pupil, black part of my eye. So I'm going to go all the way around that edge. And I'm going to color that in as black as I can get it. Okay. And I find if you go in one direction and then in another direction, you kind of can get it a little bit darker. I don't think I need to go much darker than that for right now. That looks good. Okay. Now for this part, the inner circle outside of that black part that I just colored in. So what I usually like to do is just some small little round ovals where the open part of that like kind of half circle I'm drawing in there, so not oval, half oval, the open part is facing out this way. And I'm just gonna kind of do that all the way around here, and it's gonna start to look a lot like maybe a big sun or something as you start to do it, if the sun were black. And I'm just gonna do that all the way around. I'm gonna try to speed up, which probably means I'm gonna make a little bit of a mistake, but that's okay. I've got my trusty eraser. Okay. So I've got this pretty intricate pattern going on here. And then usually I would go and do another one on the inside of that. And this is actually just showing kind of where all of our tissue that is holding this black part of our eye, it's kind of, it holds it in place, but it also helps it expand and contrast when we need it to, when we want it to let in more light or less light. So it starts to create this really cool pattern right here, and then I'm just going to make that a little bit darker. So I'm really just putting that in there just for hints of those lines. Like, you don't really have to worry about being able to see them too horribly much. I'm just going to cover those up and shade a little bit in that initial circle all the way around your eye. And it may not look like it in your drawing there, but I can see the value difference. I'm going to see if I can make that look a little bit different for you guys. Maybe with all of the light shining on it, it's a little bit harder to see. You see how the center is darker, the outside edge is a little bit lighter. Alright, so I would do the exact same thing on the outside edge, but I'm just going to speed this up and give myself a darker outside edge. Just going towards the center. Alright, and now I'm just going to shade that a little bit towards the outside, the rim of the entire eye, and clean up some of my scrappier lines. And now I'm going to pretend like there's a dot right in here, and I'm going to just start to fill in, acting like my pencil is getting dragged back in towards that dot with every pencil stroke. And it's okay if your pencil actually does go in towards that dot, because, and this is easier for me to do if I pivot, because all of that other stuff is kind of dark, so it's not really going to show your pencil stroke too horribly much. And I need to stay so you guys can see what I'm doing. But try to keep those areas that you specifically left to stay white. And going around. Okay, so we have the makings of an eye right now. I'm going to leave that be for the time being, and we are going to work on the shadows that are happening on the actual eyeball. So the same way we did this that goes up on our eyelid, we are going to have these shadows kind of reflected, that there's more space being reflected, or being put in shadow down here, And we are going to do a curve that goes down over this way, right into our tear duct. I'm just creating a line where I'm going to add in a shadow, and I'm going to do the same thing, a curve all the way down over here. So most of the time when you're drawing an eye, you think that's the white of my eye. I don't want to add any shadow to that, but you actually do, because you've got eyelid and eyelashes casting quite a shadow on your eye, and pure white is something that you just don't really see that often, especially on the human body. So you just want to shade that in a little bit so you have something that looks a little bit more realistic. You can obviously do more intricate shading there if you wanted to. I'm going to shade a little bit in on that tear duct because that is more reddish pink, which has a darker value than everything around it. I'm going to just soften that edge a little teeny bit more shading right there. All right, and now let's add in some shadow actually happening on our eye over here. So let's say our shadow is actually coming from this line. It's coming up here, and we actually have a highlight happening in a bit of a shadow over here. So we can't really see too much of where I'm going. And then I'm going to just add some shadow on the actual colorful part of my eye, coming down. And I'm going to soften that shadow, soften that a little bit. Okay. And I want to soften that transition between my shadow and the rest of my eye, as long as I am working on this a little bit more. All right. There we go, guys. That is looking awfully realistic. That's looking cool. Okay, now we are going to add in some eyelashes. So whether you're a guy or a girl, you have eyelashes, and I actually like to draw eyelashes upside down. I find it a little bit easier, just because of the way that I like to pull out and towards me to draw. So the thing with eyelashes is they kind of overlap and go in different directions, and they have varying lengths and widths, and you don't really have many eyelashes up here, and they kind of go out towards the outside edge of the eye. But again, they go in all sorts of directions. So you're going to have something that looks a lot more realistic if you are kind of crisscrossing and weaving your eyelid, your eyeshadows, not your eyelid. Ooh, your eyelashes, excuse me, like that. Okay. Now, if you're drawing a female eye, you might want to get more into the eyelashes. I've seen some of you draw some amazing eyelashes where it looks like they've got like just crazy nice, well-groomed eyelashes. You can totally do that if you want to, or you can stop right where it is here. I like to add just a little more volume towards the base of my eyelashes, and as I'm doing that with just these like multiple pencil strokes, it kind of creates a little bit more of an illusion of there are different lengths of eyelashes going on, which is going to make it look a little bit more realistic as well. All right, that looks good enough to me. Okay, I'm going to kind of shade out over there because you have like this entire, you actually have like a shelf of eyelashes going on. So it's okay for you to shade in an actual like area of eyelashes. Alright, so we've got our top eyelashes. Now let's quickly get in some bottom eyelashes and we are almost done with our realistic looking eye. So we have usually less eyelashes on the bottom. Our eyelashes are really there to try to keep debris from getting into our eye. I've never actually looked into why we have eyelashes on the bottom, but I have to assume sometimes debris is coming up from the bottom and it is biologically helpful for us to have these small little wispy eyes coming down here. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting them a little bit below where this bottom line is, and then I want to just go back in and make where they're actually attaching a little bit darker, and the same as I did on the upper eyelid with those eyelashes. I'm just trying to make sure that they're kind of crisscrossing and weaving in different directions to make it look a little more realistic. Alright guys, that right there is a pretty darn realistic looking eye. What do you say? I'm proud of it. I think you guys should be proud of it. Let me pop back in that screen. If you drew this, I need to see it. I am so excited to see what you guys are capable of drawing realistically, drawing with nothing but a pencil. I really think a lot of you, I've seen your drawing skills, more of you than you think are capable of doing this right now. I know it. I know it in my bones. And I'm always optimistically hopeful that you guys are going to be open to pushing yourselves and trying to do something that maybe you don't think you can do and being pleasantly surprised and giving yourself something to feel proud of, because you guys should really be feeling proud of how amazing you are. Even if yours doesn't end up looking exactly like this, guess how many years of practice I've had at drawing a realistic looking eye? Too many, right? So if you're starting when you're in 4th, 5th, or 6th grade trying to practice this, I promise you by the time you get to Mrs. O'Connor's age, you will be light years ahead of where I am right now. So keep practicing, my friends. Stay positive and be creative.